everyone. Very tall, with a good feel for the game's rhythm and long arms. With the right development, he could become a threat to the league. With his shooting technique, he'll stretch the floor and dominate under the rim thanks to his size. I just read an old scouting report on Mo Bamba. Khaman Maluach is often compared to players like that, but I assure you, Maluach will be more successful than Bamba or Ball for many reasons. And you know, I want today's episode to be a little different from the rest. Besides his strengths, weaknesses, and all sorts of comparisons, I'm going to tell you the heartbreaking story of a young man who managed to escape not just poverty, but an actual war in his country. I hope after watching this video, you won't remain indifferent to the main character. Originally from South Sudan, selected 10th overall by Houston, he was traded to Phoenix. Maluach is now Arizona's biggest hope after Devin Booker. Unfortunately, like many Central African countries, South Sudan is plagued by devastation and poverty, where our main character spent his childhood. While many kids dreamed of a new gaming console or sneakers, Maluach simply wanted food in the house. As if that horror wasn't enough for Khaman, in 2013, a civil war broke out in South Sudan, forcing his family to flee to Uganda, simply to survive. As refugees, Khaman's family had no money, food, or decent clothes. Sadly, they survived the war. Maluach and his family stayed in Uganda, where in 2019, at 13, Khaman was just standing on the street when a boda drove past. That's what they call motorcycle taxi drivers in Africa. The driver was surprised by the boy's height, as Maluach was already 2 meters tall. The surprised taxi driver couldn't think of anything better to say than, with that height, you should be playing basketball. And it was at that very moment that Khaman clearly decided on his future and resolved to dedicate his life to the sport. But due to his difficult circumstances and poverty, Khaman had no opportunity to train, so he didn't even dream of a professional career. But his persistence and extreme motivation to escape his situation did their work. Initially, Maluach walked to a court an hour from home. The rookie said he didn't even have shoes to play basketball. For this reason, Khaman took his first steps on the court, both literally and figuratively, in Crocs. And finally, fate was on the young player's side. After just a few training sessions, Maluach showed such rapid progress that local coaches decided to give the kid a chance to prove himself and send him to the NBA Academy Africa in Senegal, which was a very serious step in his career. Khaman himself said that competing with the best players on his continent helped him reach a completely new level. Developing rapidly, Maluach was called up to his national team at just 16. Here's an important clarification, not the youth team, but the senior national team. At the 2023 World Cup, Khaman didn't post crazy numbers, but his presence at the tournament spoke volumes. Experience from players like Carlik Jones, Winyan Gabriel, and JT Thor helped Khaman adapt to modern, high-level basketball. After the Olympics, where Khaman saw all his idols, he was invited to play in the NCAA by colleges like UCLA, Kansas, Kentucky, and Duke. These are top-tier basketball programs, but Maluach chose the last one. Why Duke? It's simple. Khaman learned about basketball so recently that his favorite player was Zion Williamson. Playing on a team with stars like Cooper Flagg and Con Knuppel, it's tough to put up big numbers. Yet Maluach made a name for himself in his first season in America with his work ethic and adaptability on the court. Averaging just 9 points and 7 rebounds, Khaman remained an indispensable starter thanks to his paint protection and excellent screens, which sealed off defenders and freed up his star teammates. Additionally, Maluach set Duke University records for dunks and field goal percentage for a freshman. Now we'll transition to his strengths and weaknesses, where Maluach, compared to other big men, looks more versatile. Besides his so-called rim protection, which is at a very high level, Khaman manages to keep up with almost every player on the court, often doing an excellent job against quick wings. On a fence, Maluach is limited, but he has very good potential. Currently, besides alley-oops and quality finishing in the paint, Khaman can also offer a mid-range or long-range shot. It's less frequent and still below average, but it's there. He isn't afraid or hesitant. He just takes the shot. Judging by his form, he isn't planning on stopping. For his size, 218 centimeters tall with a 231 centimeters wingspan, his shooting form looks quite good, unlike someone like Ball, who has similar measurements. And if you were thinking that the South Sudanese player is anything like the aforementioned guy, then no, not at all. Ball struggled with being underweight and mobility issues. First, Maluach weighs 113 kilograms, which means it's not easy to back him down in the paint. Second, Maluach has excellent body coordination, allowing him to change direction sharply at high speed and keep up with almost any player. And let me remind you, all this is despite Maluach first touching a basketball only 5 years ago. Can you even imagine how rapidly this guy is improving every aspect of his game? Now, moving on to his weaknesses, it becomes clear why such a monster with an excellent work ethic dropped all the way to the 10th pit. First and foremost is his lack of experience in game reps, which results in a less than stellar basketball IQ. Maluach often commits silly fouls, is late on defensive rotations, and sometimes doesn't understand where he's supposed to be at certain moments of the game. All of this is fixable by explaining the fundamentals and teaching him the game properly. This is why Khaman doesn't boast many blocked shots, despite his height. Maluach's inexperience led opponents to draw him out to the perimeter and attack the paint, left without its primary defender. Another fixable weakness, which I'm sure the Phoenix coaching staff will address, is his overall rawness. Again, going back to the fact that Khaman has been playing basketball for a very short time, we get a decent skill set, yes, but it's still underdeveloped. Some elements Maluach hasn't even formally learned. He just tried them on the court and decided to use them in his game. Maluach also can't create his own shot. Even at Duke, he needed a perfect pass to finish. In one-on-one post-up situations, Khaman would get lost and his court vision suffers. But no one expects him to be the next Jokic, and passing to an open teammate isn't difficult. Let's discuss comparisons to other players in the league and his potential development. But first, a small digression. Until now, I've avoided mentioning Deng in this video. Luol Deng, a former NBA player and versatile defender, spent much time in Chicago with Rose and Thibodeau. Now, he's focused on developing basketball in Africa, especially South Sudan. Now, guess whose basketball program noticed and gave a 13-year-old Maluach a chance? That's right, the camp in Senegal, which included basketball training and education, was organized by Luol Deng himself, whom Khaman now considers almost a second father. Thanks to him, Maluach was able to escape the devastation and poverty he lived in his entire childhood. Let's continue. At the 2023 World Cup, an otherwise unremarkable player named Majok Deng, who is Luol's cousin, played alongside Khaman for the South Sudan national team. After noticing Maluach's potential and talking with him, Majok arranged with Luol, who has plenty of connections in America, to get Duke and other colleges interested in the kid and invite him over. And the cherry on top, due to visa issues in South Sudan, Maluach's family couldn't fly in for the draft, and it was Deng who helped his relatives attend the event. Another interesting fact, Maluach wears number 9. I'll give you one guess who he chose at number 4. Why am I bringing this up? This brings us smoothly to the comparisons, and potentially, I personally see a lot of Luol Deng's qualities in Maluach. Versatility, good defense across 3 to 4 positions, mobility, even their stories are more or less similar. You just want to wish him luck and patience, as he's overcome an incredible journey at only 18. What he had to go through at such a young age feels incredibly unfair. But Maluach stepped over it, weathered the storm, and moved forward. It's rare to see such persistence and willpower, making it joyful that Khaman fulfilled his dream, made it to the NBA, and started pulling his family out of poverty. You hope everything works out for him. Thanks for watching. This turned out to be a heartfelt video. Like this video, subscribe to our social media channels like Telegram, VK, and YouTube, and write your thoughts on Khaman Maluach in the comments. After all I've learned, I'll genuinely root for any success this South Sudanese player has.